It took exactly 30 years, but the United States government has just pulled off one of the most shocking and unexpected legal maneuvers in the history of modern geopolitics. Imagine a former head of state, a man who ruled an entire nation with an iron fist alongside his infamous brother, suddenly being hunted by American federal prosecutors at 94 years old. On Wednesday, May 20th, 2026, the United States Department of Justice officially unsealed a historic criminal indictment against former Cuban leader Raul Castro. The charge: first-degree murder for the brutal 1996 mid-air execution of American citizens. This isn't just an old cold case being dusted off. This is a massive diplomatic explosion that completely upends international law. How did the FBI secretly build a case against one of the last remaining titans of the Cold War? And what happens now that America has officially marked Raul Castro as a wanted fugitive? Stick around, because this unfolding geopolitical thriller is about to get incredibly intense. To truly grasp the sheer gravity of these charges, we must travel back to a terrifying afternoon over the Florida Straits on February 24, 1996. A Miami-based humanitarian group called Brothers to the Rescue was flying 3 small, unarmed civilian Cessna aircraft on a routine mission to search for Cuban refugees stranded at sea. Suddenly, without warning, the Cuban military scrambled supersonic MiG fighter jets. In a display of raw, unprovoked aggression, the military jets locked onto the defenseless civilian planes while they were operating in international airspace. With a single pull of a trigger, Cuban missiles obliterated 2 of the aircraft, sending 4 brave men crashing into the ocean below. 3 of the victims were United States citizens, and 1 was a legal U.S. resident. The international community was horrified, but for 3 decades, the mastermind behind the slaughter remained completely untouchable in Havana. But the wheels of justice turned slowly, and behind closed doors, American federal investigators never stopped digging. The explosive breakthrough in 2026 reveals that prosecutors finally secured the definitive smoking gun proof they needed. The newly unsealed indictment details secret military communications proving that Raul Castro, who was serving as Cuba's Minister of the Defense at the time, personally ordered the lethal military strike. Federal officials assert that Castro explicitly directed his fighter pilots to hunt down and destroy the civilian aircraft, knowing fully well that the operation would result in the murder of American nationals. This stunning revelation completely shatters the historical defense put forward by the Cuban regime, which spent decades claiming the shootdown was a spontaneous split-second reaction by local radar operators. The psychological impact of this indictment is vibrating heavily across the globe. At 94 years old, Raul Castro is officially a fugitive from American justice. Legal experts openly admit that the likelihood of Castro actually standing trial inside a federal courtroom in Washington is extremely low, given that Cuba does not possess an extradition treaty with the United States. However, this historic move by the Department of Justice is far from symbolic. By placing first-degree murder charges on a former head of state, the United States has permanently frozen his remaining international assets, completely restricted his family's ability to travel, and sent a booming warning shot to authoritarian regimes worldwide. It proves that time does not erase the murder of American citizens, and the shield of sovereign immunity will not protect dictators from criminal accountability. The indictment of Raul Castro marks a profound turning point in the decades-long conflict between Washington and Havana. It brings a deeply emotional sense of closure to the families of the 4 victims who spent 30 long years fighting to ensure the world never forgot the tragedy over the Florida Straits. The global community is now watching with intense suspense to see how the Cuban government will react to their historic leader being labeled an international criminal by the most powerful legal system on Earth. What are your thoughts on the United States officially charging 94-year-old Raul Castro with murder after 30 years? Is this a vital victory for global justice, or is it a symbolic political move that came far too late? Drop your honest reactions and thoughts in the comments section below. If you want to stay completely ahead of the curve with deep-dive geopolitical breakdowns, breaking international news, and historical criminal cases, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Thank you so much for watching, stay vigilant, and we will see you in the next critical breakdown.